Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Voices for Change 2.0, the mental health podcast that's changing the discussion one voice at a time, featuring guests that will help end the stigma and keep talking mental health. And now, here are your hosts, Rebecca and Joe Lombardo.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us here at Voices for Change 2.0.
Good morning! Unless you're in Europe, in which case, good afternoon! So, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us today. We hope that on this last weekend of May, it finds you happy and healthy, somewhat, anyway.
Yeah.
You know, trying to stay on the positive, pleasant, good side of things.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a struggle, but,
yeah,
you know, and we were thinking about it the other day, and I personally haven't left the house since, what did we figure out, February, yeah. Have not left the house that entire time, and it totally blows my mind. I mean, I'm glad because it's scary out there right now. But at the same time, it feels sort of strange. You feel very much like a hermit.
Yeah. No, you're not missing much out there, babe. I'll tell you. You know, it's been weird times. You know, going to work and going to the store here and there for essential stuff, and you know, now with things opening up more. You know, I've got mixed feelings about it. You know, I'm happy people are getting to go back to work and try to resume their lives in some way, but I'm also concerned that, you know, because of that, because I have customers opening up and people coming back, that it opens up, you know, more exposure to COVID-19, you know, flaring up again. And, you know, I don't want to bring anything home to you or the rest of the family. So,
yeah.
You know.
Now that things are starting to open up, I want to go out even less.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So.
But we're going to try and get out outside today and, you know, do some yardy stuff. It's nice here in the Detroit area. It's a pretty day, not too hot. I'll take it. So, you know, so there's that. You know, and, you know, it's been a particularly tough week with all this George Floyd business. And, you know, just want to say our hearts go out to his family and friends. And, you know, it's just, there aren't many words that I can say.
I don't know what to say about it. This is the very first time I saw that picture, and the look on the police officer's face, who was holding him down, just it creeped me out beyond belief, and I don't know. Like you said, there's no words to explain the outrage and the horrific circumstances in which that man had to die. It's absolutely unbelievable to me.
Yeah. So that's about all we're going to say about that for the time being. You know,
we don't want to get into.
We don't want to bum anybody out.
Yeah,
And you know, it's already a sad situation as it is. So, you know, just like I said, wanted to say that, you know, we're putting our thoughts and prayers out to his loved ones, and we feel terribly that this happened. You know, we know this isn't a reflection of all the police out there, but you know, the police need to do better too. You know, and you know, I know this guy got arrested and charged. The police officer in the case did. So that's that's a step in the right direction, I think,
Yeah.
So on a lighter note, let's change things up and put some happy in the show.
Okay.
Okay. So, and the happy is going to come via our guest today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited to talk to her. It's been a long time coming. I've been planning to talk to her for a very long time, and we couldn't get our schedules to mesh. So we're excited today that we are getting the opportunity to speak to her.
We are meshed.
We are meshed, absolutely. She's a licensed psychologist and an author and a mental health advocate, and she has a very powerful presence on Twitter, which, as most of you know, is where I find most of our guests. And we are friends on Twitter, and I follow her. She posts daily questions for people to get people
engaged.
Yeah, engaging in her page. And I think it's a really neat thing that she's doing, because it makes you stop for a minute. You're like, that's a really good question. And you just kind of put some thought into it and answer, and, works out great for everybody involved. And
that's how we get new thoughts and ideas out there, and people feel like they've been heard, which is, kind of a goal that we're going for too.
Yep. She's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So she's got it covered.
And she's got a delightful smile.
Yes, a very nice smile.
So we would like you all to give a rousing round of applause. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tara Sanderson.
Yay! That's super exciting. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure having you, Doc. And, we know you had to get up extra early to be on the show, based on where you are in the country in relation to where we are in the country. And so we're grateful that you did that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Talking about mental health is one of my favorite things in the world, so getting up early is not a problem.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for us before we dive in?
I don't think so. I think I'm ready and raring to go.
Okay. Well, if anything comes up on your end that you want to know about us, feel free to jump in and say, hey, what's your favorite color? Or whatever it might be,
You bet.
Other than that, we're going to begin the interrogation. The questions. You want me to ask? Or
yeah,
you want
go
to
for it.
Okay,
you're on a roll.
I am on a roll. I am on today. So, Dr. Tara, because we don't know if to call you Doc or Tara or Dr. Sanderson or hey you. So
I respond to all of those. That sounds great. Anything you want.
Okay, Doc. So the question that we generally start our show out with, and it's kind of become our de facto first question for most people, especially first-timers on the show, is where does your mental health journey begin?
Wow, that is a great question.
That's why we ask it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Looking backwards, because hindsight's 20/20, right? I love that little phrase because it's so true. When I look backwards at my life, I think that I always struggled with anxiety and perfectionism, all the way down to like kindergarten and first grade, coming home and wanting to see this look on my parents' face that I did okay, and that meant I was okay, and that I strived in school to be the best I could be. I compared myself to my brother and my friends. At the time, I don't know that I would have really recognized it, even up through high school. I don't know that I really would have recognized it as a diagnosable anxiety disorder. But I definitely can look backwards and see that I struggled with wanting to know that I was worth it, wanting to know that someone else noticed me, and that by doing enough, I therefore was enough. And that was, it's shocking to talk about now and think that who I am today and what goes on in the world today, that, there's so many people who struggle with layers of mental health issues that stem from long-standing need to feel connected to each other, to feel enough, to feel worth it.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
That speaks to me on a very particular level. My parents, when I was growing up, and my grandmother too, because my grandmother lived with us when I was growing up, I didn't get the usual discipline that most kids our age got, like spankings and, timeouts and whatnot. Just if I screwed up something, my parents were disappointed, and that was almost the a worse feeling than anything. Just that feeling of, God, I've let them down. And so you get this sense of, well, I need to do the best that I can, because I don't want to look worthless in their eyes, and and it kind of puts a unrealistic expectation on you, especially as a child, having thoughts like that. And it kind of messed me up a little bit from a certain point of view, at least for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I reached a point where later on, as I got older, things like negative reinforcement didn't work on me. If someone tried using negative reinforcement of some kind, I would just like, well, screw it, I don't care, and I'd take my ball and go home. They tried saying, well, you can do better, you're not good enough, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And this isn't my parents at this point. This would be like teachers, coaches, what have you.
Sure.
And it's like, well, it's fine. You feel that way about me, I don't need to be here, So that's kind of I don't give a bleep attitude about a lot of things now because of it. So it's weird.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing to me how just some of those small interactions have such long-lasting effects in our psyche and in the way that we interact with the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in your formative years, when you're still learning and finding your way and whatnot. And it's funny because, Beck and I have talked about it on the show tons of times, and I'm sure our regular listeners are tired of hearing about it, but, our niece and our great niece live with us, and, we're taking an active role in helping to raise our great niece, who's, as of this week, a year and a half, 1.5 years old. And yeah, she's adorable. But I'm conscious of, I don't want to make, my parents, don't get me wrong, I had a great upbringing, and my parents were incredible, and I loved them very much, and still do to this day. But the mistakes that they did make with raising me, I'm cognitive of not wanting to make those same mistakes.
Absolutely.
I don't want her to feel like she's got to do something just to please me, because then you get bitter as you get older about that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
At least I did anyway. So you feel free to jump in anytime, babe.
I'm just listening. It was a good little conversation you were having. So, Dr. Tara, what is the main thing that you treat as a physician?
I am, as a clinical psychologist, I work with all sorts of mental health disorders, but the ones that I really love working with are folks who struggle with anxiety and perfectionism, because it speaks right to my little soul. And then my other focus is teens. Teens are such an underserved population when it comes to mental health issues, because we chalk so much up to angstiness that's normal in teens, and we're not super good at pulling apart, like, what's teenage angst and hormonal and stuff, and what is actual depression and anxiety and stress and PTSD and all sorts of things. So I focus a lot on helping teens and their families figure out the best ways to navigate the world that is today and not the world that their parents grew up in, as well as really own, what is true anxiety and what's teenage myth.
I think I still have some teenage meh that I walk around with.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about that. That's great that you have that focus too, because one thing we've discovered over the last couple of years of doing this show is that it seems like a lot of the things that people we've talked to on here, Beck's own experience, most likely in 2020 hindsight of my experience, that things start to manifest mental health wise in your teens. You have all these hormones going on, things start changing for you, and you don't know what the hell's going on, and you feel all these emotions suddenly very intensely, and it's just it's
it seems like that's where it starts for everybody.
Yeah.
We do have a few guests that we've spoken to where it started when they were 9 or 10 years old,
and some that were in their 20s.
Yeah, but a lot of people, I would say the majority of people that we've interviewed, everything started to hit them around 17, 18, 19,
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's it's funny, the question I first asked you, where's your mental health journey began? 9 out of 10 people, it's, back in my teens, I felt this way. It's like, yep. So that's, the fact that you're concentrating on that particular group is, I think it's very much needed, and like you said, it's an underserved segment of the population, and we're always advocating education and whatnot, and teaching certainly teenagers, if not younger, about good mental health, and finding better ways to handle things than stuff like self-harm or binging and purging, or whatever you might be afflicted with, different coping mechanisms. There's a lot healthier things to do out there.
Yeah,
absolutely. I talk to a lot of my clients about this idea of a coping skills staircase, and that as we grow, we learn new skills to cope with all of our emotions. And when we're babies and super young, some of those basics are going to be crying or laughing when somebody makes a funny face at you. Like, we have these basic responses to what goes on, in our physical being. And then we grow and grow, and we learn things like, I can ask my mom for milk instead of sitting, and crying. I can throw something and that will get my parents' attention. I can do these things, and we get reinforced as we grow. Some people, somewhere along the line, take the shortcut of using drugs or alcohol, using cutting, using all sorts of maladaptive behaviors, because they also work as coping skills, but they cut short our progress in using better ones. And when we are full up and we are feeling, like we're at our best, we have access to the full range of our coping skills staircase, all the way up to asking politely, or or getting things that we need by bartering or paying for things or whatever it is. But when we're not at our full capacity, like during a pandemic, half of our coping skills staircase is kind of wiped off the map, and we really now only have access to a few things that work. And when we then have struggles with mental health on top of it, sometimes that decreases us all the way down to our lowest and most basic steps, or to some of our cheat steps of, well, if I can't feel good about all of these things, I might as well feel good artificially using drugs or alcohol or other things. Which is a lot of the conversation I have with teens of, like, Smoking sounds like a really good plan. It keeps the weight off. It does these things that you think are really positive. But at the end of the day, you're just avoiding the hard work that is being a human. And that's kind of a cheat step to being able to do things the way that we want to be able to do them eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember just from, my experience, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, friends smoking all the time, me trying it. And, I think I had maybe 1 or 2 cigarettes that entire time. And I was like, how can you do this? This is just gross. Of course, my dad was a smoker just about all his life. And, I saw what he went through dealing with it, heart attacks and whatnot. And so that was a good deterrent for me. But, not everybody gets that,
For sure.
So what would be your advice for anyone that's currently struggling with mental health issues, whether it be, an adult or a teenager or even the parent of a teenager? What kind of advice do you offer?
The first step for me is always to ask a couple of really big questions. And one of them is, what's the voice in which you speak to yourself? That really links back to self-compassion. The more we beat up on ourselves, the less we're able to really be compassionate and understand the circumstances that we're in. There's sometimes in my office when somebody will say, well, I don't know why I can't just get my stuff done. And I'll look at them and say, okay, well, let's just throw out a couple of things. Number one, pandemic. Okay, that's enough all on its own. But you're also going through some relationship distress. You're also trying to raise a teenager during a pandemic. You're also trying to complete school and work full-time. Like, any one of those things is enough to say, gosh, I'm having a hard time getting my stuff done, and it's okay that I am. Building that self-compassion, making sure the voice we use to talk to ourselves is kind, because it needs to be in order for us to get through the really hard times. And then the second piece for me is all about data collection, being aware of what it is that you're doing that's contributing to your mental health, and what it is that your mental health that's contributing to you feeling like this is not how you want to live, and making sure that you're really being clear on both of those aspects. So the side of us contributing is things like, am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating correctly? Am I getting some exercise? Am I spending enough time with people who treat me well and love me? Things on the opposite side of that is, the things that we not necessarily can control right away, of like, how many times is my brain, as an anxiety brain, going into these what-if spirals that get the wind so knocked out of me that I can't function the way that I would like to. And tracking those behaviors and tracking those things so that you can start to see your personal configuration, and then start adapting so that you're able to start saying, okay, the more I sleep, the less I have this. The more I eat well, the more this happens in my life. Or for me, it was the opposite. I realized that really I only need about 6 hours of sleep. When I have 8, I am groggy monster. I am not a very nice human. I need only 6. And so when I started limiting that piece of it and engaging in other things, I felt like a better me. And that just took some data collection for me to figure out.
That's fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
Having to take, because we all learn about correlations on stuff. Well, if this happens, then that happens. But applying it to, your what you're feeling and what you're personally going through, that's a really neat concept. Like saying, well, if I sleep too much, then I can't do this, or if I eat too much of this bad thing, then this is going to happen. Just putting those kind of correlations together. I mean, that's great advice.
Yeah.
I'm very behavioral in a lot of my therapy kind of interventions. For me, our life is really just one big experiment. As we learn and grow and try new things and see what works and see what doesn't, we can then replicate the things that work and start decreasing the things that don't work. But if we're not aware of which one of those are, we're just going to go with whatever's easiest. I think as humans, we're kind of inherently lazy. We would really like for it to just all come to us magically instead of have to work for it. And when we do that, we aren't as successful in being the people that we want to be. So we do have to do the work of data collection, realize what's best for us, and do the work to make that necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and what you were saying earlier too about how we speak to ourselves. That's a tough one, you know.
That's really something I need to learn.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 47 years old and I still don't really know how to do that correctly. I still beat myself up consistently. So. Yeah,
you know, and both of us do that.
Yeah.
Not to each other. I mean, we're, you know, she's pretty awesome to me, and I think I'm pretty awesome to her. But yeah, both of us, our self-talk is just, you know, I'm hard on myself at times about things. Other times I'm pretty forgiving of myself and realizing, okay, well, you didn't get this done, but you know, you had a particularly rough day at work. You're wiped out. It'll keep until tomorrow. You know. But situations like with Beck, you know, she'll beat herself up over something, and I'll have to remind her, well, you know, you had this happen, you had that happen. You know, she took a spill the other day and has been very achy, you know, in various parts of her body. And, you know, to have her be like, well, I didn't get up and do this or that, you know, and just hearing her, you know, complain about the physical aches and pains, you know, it's like I have to remind her, well, you know, you take a traumatic spill, you know, it's okay that you didn't get up and do this or that today. You're in a lot of pain, you know, and then that kind of slows her down in her tracks a little bit, and she's like, okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes you just need to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, before it sinks in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of one of the cool parts of being in therapy is coming into that space, kind of giving all of yourself and opening up all of those pieces and hearing somebody look at you and say, and you're still okay. And you're still, you know, a resilient human. You're going to get through this. And kind of get that, like, deep breath sigh that says, okay, I can do this. We can get through this.
Yeah. You know, realizing that you've survived 100% of the things you've been through thus far. You know, it's nice hearing that little, you know, being, you know, sometimes being told that from something not internal. You know, that for sure that internal voice can mess with you if you let it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So.
Well, on that note, we are going to take our quick break. We will catch you guys on the other side of Help You Fly by Tara Naomi.
I know how misery loves its company. Got a party gathered around you now. They come running from far and wide, but who's gonna help you fly? And they come calling when you're falling down. Someone to always pick you up off the ground. Oh, nobody wanna see you cry, but who's gonna help you fly? Whoa, 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 who's gonna help you fly? Well, the city that I live in feels smaller every day. It's like a little town. People always gonna help you get by, but who's gonna help you fly? And it's a messed up situation when I got the word call on when the well runs dry. But I just wanna celebrate my life. Wanna find someone to help me fly. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who's gonna help you fly? Whoa.
Hey, welcome back to Voices for Change 2.0. I'm Joe. She's Rebecca. She's cute as a button. You guys are missing it. You wish you were me right now. She's so cute.
Oh, my goodness.
I love my wife. And on the line, we have the lovely and talented Dr. Tara Sanderson. Hi, Doc.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
Doing good. It has just stopped raining out here in Oregon, so I'm getting to see some beautiful blue sky, and it's turning out to be a nice day.
Nice. Yeah, we definitely got to get out west again.
Yeah.
You know, we went to California a little less than a year ago.
Laguna Beach,
and that was
air.
it was pretty awesome, and that's kind of where our hearts are at now.
Yeah, I mean, even we were there for a mental health conference, and even the hotel that they put us up in, I still have the pictures in the gallery on my phone, and I'll still sometimes go back and look at them and just be like, oh. It was such a beautiful place,
mm-hmm.
and I could have stayed there forever.
Yeah, if you ever get the opportunity and you go, down south from where you are, look into the ranch at Laguna Beach. It's free advertising for them. It's absolutely amazing. The people there are very accommodating. The accommodations are amazing.
They're so nice. They're unbelievably sweet. The food is fantastic.
Yeah, I can't put into words how the food was there. It was just so good. we still fantasize about the turkey sandwich that Beck had.
Yeah, we ordered room service one night, and I got this turkey sandwich that was the greatest thing I've ever tasted in my entire life.
Oh, my goodness.
And we've been trying to recreate it every day since. And
failing miserably. Yeah, she took a bite of it. She's like, you need to try this turkey. And she rips off a piece of turkey and gives it to me. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh.
So, and we try and ask them, and they're like, "What? It's just turkey." And it's like, no, this is not.
No.
So this place is just, we will get back there one day.
Yeah, for sure. We have
Absolutely. To. This is a moral imperative. So anyway, Doc, please talk with us about your book and what it's called and what our readers can expect. What our listeners who will become your readers can expect. That made more sense.
There we go. Absolutely. So my book is called Too Much, Not Enough, A Guide to Decreasing Anxiety and Finding Balance Through Intentional Choices. And I wrote this book because I started to recognize during a couple of years of doing therapy with folks that I was starting to say the same thing a lot in therapy. I was starting to use the same tools. I was starting to give the same advice on what they could do to live more intentionally and feel less anxious and less kind of intense about the choices that they were making. A lot of the times I use the term perseveration, where you think about this one thing that happened and it just rolls over and over like on repeat in your mind. And a lot of times we perseverate on a choice we made or why we did something or how we did something because we're unsatisfied with the results. And a lot of times it's because we blame ourselves for having it go wrong or having it not turn out the way that we thought it was going to. And there's a lot of that self-blame that can be removed and eliminated when we spend time prior to making the choice and choosing it intentionally, whatever it is, choosing it intentionally. In my book, I use a lot of examples of me with food because, man, I love food. We were just talking about that turkey sandwich. I immediately wrote down the place that you guys were saying because I was like, the ranch, got to go get the turkey sandwich because food is so yummy.
That's the correct thing to do. Yeah.
And I think that even with thinking about food intentionally, of how we're going to feel once we have eaten whatever it is. I use the example in my book of like, I absolutely can polish off a whole chocolate cake or a whole pizza. Like that is not actually hard for me to do. The question is how do I feel after I have done it? If I'm going to sit there and blame myself and feel terrible and gross inside for the next 8 hours, that may not be my best choice, right? But if that's the intentional choice I choose, then that is my best choice. It is the choice that makes the most sense to me in this moment. And each moment I have to keep analyzing it. So I use a tool called Sober that came out of some addictions mindfulness work to really help people find the right choice based on the experience that they're having and what they want the outcome to be, to help them not feel so anxious about choosing and not feel so much rumination or frustration or guilt or whatever after making the choice. I tend to think about choices being more like the LA freeway, which for folks on the East Coast may not know the LA freeway as well, but the LA freeway has everywhere, and it's got these turns and off-ramps and on-ramps, and there's all sorts of ways to get where you're going. And to me, dealing with life and choices is really all about making one, and if it's not the right one, you can always get off at the next exit, find your way back, and try again. There's no permanent choices outside of, say, like murder, right? Like, that's a permanent choice we make. But other than that, like, if you choose not to pay your taxes on April 15th, guess what? You can file an extension and pay your taxes later. Like, there's always a way. We just have to make an intentional decision to turn off the freeway and come back on. So my book talks a lot about those types of concepts and then goes into a lot about you and your worth. And I think that I spend a lot of time re-inviting us to think about that it's okay that we are who we are, and it is 100% true that we have value and worth just by being, not by doing anything else, not by trying to be something more, but just by being here, just by being human.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I really want to read your book. Everything you just said speaks to me on a particular level. It really does. It just hits home, because I'll do that. I will ruminate over and over again about something that I do or something that I fail to do, or if I said something that I thought was okay at the time, and then afterwards, when I really think back on it, it's like, oh, why did I say that? Or why did I say that to this particular person? Or, just different things like that. That's one way that I know I beat myself up too, is, thinking about, these things that I have said or done and what the consequences, the consequences don't always hit me at the time of my actions, and I'm trying to do better with that. But, I could definitely use some help with that.
Mm-hmm. So could you possibly give us a few tips on managing anxiety and stress?
Sure. So one of my favorites that I use all the time, and any of my clients who listen to this will absolutely be speaking truth to this, is I use the term big T truth versus little t truth. So I use capitals to give, an idea that this is an important thing or a not important thing, right? And the big T truths are things that are really irrefutable, like this is how it is, versus our little T truth, which is a belief that we have because we either don't have all the facts, or it's been what has been told to us our whole lives, or it is something that we have kind of landed on and held on to. I hold a little T truth for myself that I am lazy. And I am not sure where that concept came from. Like, if I dig back into my past, I'm not quite sure where that first hit. But I now, as a human, like that is one. If I wrote all the characteristics of Tara on a list, one of them would be lazy. But anybody who knows me and sees what I do in any given day would look at me and say, how can you possibly think you are lazy? You're one of the busiest people I know. I work 1 million hours. I'm always doing something on my computer or my phone, trying to better my business or better my interns, or think about things to do for my clients. I am not actually a lazy person. The big T truth is I am somebody who is determined. I am somebody who is passionate. I am somebody who is going to do everything I can to make the world a better place. But my little T truth that I hold, that secret badge that I wear, is, oh my gosh, I am such a lazy person. I'll never get everything possible that I could do done, and therefore that's bad, and therefore I'm bad in that camp, right? And I really challenge that concept for folks who have anxiety, is when they start telling me things like, well, what if they think that I'm stupid, or what if they think this, and they go through these mind spirals of the what if cycles, or they comparing themselves to other people. I try and drill down to, like, okay, well, what's the truth that you're holding that on? Like, what's this line that you're telling yourself that you believe wholeheartedly at the moment? And then let's analyze that. Let's figure out if that's a big T truth that we do just need to adjust and adapt and change, or is that a little T truth that we need to, really challenge and see if we can find something that helps us move from that. Like, when I think about big T truths, I think about, I have blue eyes. I cannot change my eye color. I could go get contacts, but that doesn't actually change my eye color. That's a part of who I am. That's something I'm not going to be able to magically make something different. But I am lazy is not a big T truth. That's a little T truth that I have to adjust every time it comes into my mind. I have to challenge it and ask the question, what proof do I have that I am lazy? Who is telling me that I am lazy? And if it's just me reinforcing this little T truth, is that the truth that I want to live? Is that who I want to be? And if not, then I need to give myself some compassion and say, in this moment when I'm resting, it's okay for me to rest. I work really hard. Resting is not lazy, and challenge that piece of the truth.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that you're hitting some stuff there, Doc, with the both of us.
Yeah.
That just that hits home. And it speaks to self-care too. That's
absolutely
something. I find myself telling Beck all the time that when she's beating herself up for not getting up and doing something, I'll say, well, you are doing something. You're taking care of yourself. Whatever this was that you wanted to do, it will be there tomorrow. If you don't feel up to doing it today, then that's perfectly okay. And for a lot of years, she would beat herself up if she didn't get up and clean up something in the house or what have you. And she, for some reason, coupled it to an expectation that I might have on what she's doing while she's home. And, I've been telling her for almost 19 years that the only expectation that I have is that she loves me. Right?
Yeah. It's hard to get around that guilt, though, and I don't want to blame it on my mother, God rest her soul, but a lot of it does come from the way she acted around the house. If myself and my brothers and my dad were all, maybe laying around reading or watching TV or whatever, my mom got very aggravated that all we were doing was laying around and resting and not getting up and helping her. And every time, it didn't matter what I had accomplished that day, whether it was, full-time job, come home, clean my room, do laundry, whatever, I would lay down and start watching TV, and she would get on my case about laying around and doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really been just etched into my brain that I can't get around it. And, like I said, I don't like to say anything negative about my mom. I miss her like crazy, but I wish she would have understood it a little bit better.
Absolutely. That's probably another tool that I use a lot, is asking, whose voice is this? When we start getting down on ourselves and we start telling ourselves things like, I'm lazy, or there's something more you could be doing around the house, or don't just lay around, there's so much to do, you're not helping me, the expectation is you're always doing something. I start asking the question, whose voice is that? Because is that yours, or is that this other voice in my head? Right? When you said that about your mom, the first thought I had was, if there's time to lean, there's time to clean. And one of my old bosses used to say that all the time. His expectation was, if there's no customers in the store, you are vacuuming. And I remember there were days that I would vacuum for 8 hours of that shift and be like, there's no customers, vacuum again. And thinking to myself, what a waste of time. What am I doing? But his mantra was, if there's time to lean, there's time to clean. And he absolutely did not want anybody just hanging around in his store. And thinking about that, when I get to the place where I'm leaning on a counter and I'm just kind of fussing around on my phone and that pops in my head, I have to ask that question, whose voice is this? Because if it's Marty's voice, I don't need to listen to it because Marty's not my boss anymore. That's done. I quit that job. I'm out of there. If it's mine and it truly is something that, I did have a to-do list of a million things I wanted to get done today, then I can ask myself the intentional questions of, what do I want to do with this moment? Because this is just one moment of a 24-hour day. Do I want to spend this moment cruising through some stuff on Facebook, replying to some stuff on Twitter, or do I want to look at my to-do list and accomplish something else? Either is fine. Neither has more value or worth than the other. It's just, which one do I want to do right now? And I just need to choose that intentionally.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Never thought about it that way before.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Doc, getting back to your book, where can our listeners find your book, and what formats is it available in?
Absolutely. It is on Amazon, and you can get it in paperback, hardback, digital download to your Kindle or e-reader, and it is also an audiobook. So you can find it any way you want.
That's awesome and convenient.
And what's the title again?
Yes. The title is Too Much, Not Enough, A Guide to Decreasing Anxiety and Finding Balance Through Intentional Choices.
Very cool.
And that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
So, do you have any other writing projects in the works?
My husband and I were really hoping to get a book out together this year. My husband has worked in the social service industry for 15-ish years, and we started talking after I had written my book about a combined project we could do together on self-sabotage. And we're super excited about it, but we had to put the project on hold for this year because I expanded my business to hire my first employee and expanded my student interns so that we could serve more people in our community. So my hope is to get back to that project as soon as this all settles. My first employee starts next month. So hopefully once we get her in and settled, we'll be able to jump right back into that project.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Kudos to you
I'm always in love with couples who are able to do stuff together. We've worked together actually for most of our careers since we met, and he actually works with me at my company right now. And I was so excited to hear about your guys' podcast where you guys work together too on a fun thing to help people who are struggling with mental health.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's the idea when we started this thing was going at it from the point of view of Beck being the afflicted and me being the caretaker, and giving our insight because we were always getting asked well. Do you have any advice about this? What can you tell me about that? Different things.
A lot of marriage questions from people who have a spouse who is bipolar or borderline or what have you, and wanting to know how we were able to make our relationship so successful because of that dynamic. And that's where we come from. Yeah. When we're doing the show.
Yep, and it kind of morphed into something else, but in a good way.
Yeah. It definitely became a bigger thing than it was originally.
Yeah.
I gotta laugh. I'm sorry. My cat was just trying to get my attention by standing on my shoulder. I'm sitting here, all of a sudden I feel pawing at my back. I'm like, what? And then my left ear I got so
I have had a lot of fun reading some of the articles about people who are describing their animals as coworkers while people are working from home. Have you seen some of those? They're just hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, those are great. Those are just funny. Yeah, my coworker, blah blah blah.
My coworker jumped in my lap and licked my face for 15 minutes today.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the show is unfortunately starting to wind down, and we haven't covered everything we wanted to with you, Dr. Tara. But really quick, let's give out your social media so our listeners can track you down and pester you for scones or something.
Absolutely. So my social media handle for everything is just Dr. Tara Sanderson, and the doctor is Dr. and then my first and last name, Tara Sanderson. So it's pretty easy to find me places. I am pretty active on Twitter, as Becca said earlier. I really enjoy using Instagram to send out wonderful quotes and get people talking about motivational kind of things from these quotes or challenging thoughts from these quotes. On Facebook, I really do a lot more articles about how people can navigate anxiety or depression or parenting issues with teens. if you go on my LinkedIn, I am pretty sparse over there, but I would be happy to respond to someone should they desire to use LinkedIn as that place. And then on Facebook, I'm just starting to get onto Facebook and YouTube. I'm just starting to put some stuff out there, so don't expect that to be anything super exciting just yet.
Cool. It's a good, well-rounded collection of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I know we talked on our break about you know, you and your friend kicking around the idea of doing a podcast. One, and if you decide that you're going to do that, you know, definitely come back on our show. We would love to hype that up for you.
Absolutely, that'd be wonderful.
You know, and if you have any questions for us about that, you know, call or message us. We you know, we'd be happy to help however we could.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much for the offer.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we're all in this together. That's kind of the feeling that Beck and I have is, you know, we're all one big community, especially on Twitter. And, you know, so we try and be supportive and help out with stuff wherever we can.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it looks like we are at the end of the hour. So we just want to thank you very much for coming on the show and getting up early and taking the time out of your day to spend a little bit of it with us.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And,
absolutely.
You know, we'd like you to stay on the line. Everybody else, you're going to be listening to the song Beautiful by David Hernandez. And we're so grateful for everybody to tune in. And thanks for being with us this week. And we'll catch you guys next week. And have a great weekend.
See ya.
Father in the sky, and they're starting to align. I see you passing by, and we're slowing down the time. Now my love is flashing by, all I see is flashing lights. Cause you're right here by my side, can you feel it come alive? If this were a love song, would you be mine? Cause I just can't get you off of my mind. And I think about you all day and night. So I wrote you a love song, wrote you a love song. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful, so damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful, so damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. From the moment that we touched, no, nothing could stop the rush. You always pick me up, pick me up, pick me up. Now I'm feeling so much love, and I just can't get enough. Come on, lift me up, lift me up, lift me up. If this were a love song, would you be mine? I just can't get you off of my mind. And I think about you all day and night. So I wrote you a love song, wrote you a love song. Baby, you're beautiful, I think you're beautiful, so damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. Tonight, it's just you and I. We're on fire, you know I'm burning brighter. So damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yeah, I think you're beautiful. I think you're beautiful, so damn incredible, so unforgettable. Yes, I think you're beautiful. Oh, tonight, it's just you and I.